Hey everybody, how's it going? This is TUSDarryl and I'm back again for another game review. Yes, I'm aware of how stock introduction that sounded, shut up. Today, I wanted to go over a game I actually just finished 20 minutes ago, which is why I'm pretty tired. It's dark outside, but I'm like, I should do this now because I really want to talk about it now. That game in question is called Crow Country. Crow Country is one of the many games I intended to play the demo for, and give a first impressions video on back in January during Steam's Next Fest, but I didn't have the time to cover it. Thankfully, I didn't have to wait too long for a release date on the game, so I just waited until the full game came out instead. And having played and finished it now, I've got to say, it was a nice little survival horror game to scratch that I need to play a survival horror game, and I needed to do it now to get it out of my system itch. And no, I don't mean that to sound like that's all the game really has going for it. It has a lot going for it, actually, that I really enjoyed, and very few things, if any, that I want to criticize it for. So let's just hop right into it. So for starters, the game is unsettling, but not particularly scary. There are jump scares, yes, which you know my feelings on that if you see my Alan Wake 2 video where I talked for like 5 minutes on that, but nothing in the game made me so tense that it would make it difficult for me to traverse the varied locations of the Crow Country theme park. Oh, right. I should probably give a quick little bit about the story. You play as Agent Mara Forrest, and you're going to Crow Country to look for Edward Crow, the head of the establishment. And scene. That's really all the plot you get in the beginning of the game. Mara isn't really aware of what she's getting herself into, and neither was I, because let me tell you, this story goes places that I was not expecting. I won't spoil it though. Overall, the story is alright. Doesn't really go out of its way to do too much more than, say, be a backdrop and a reason for you to explore an abandoned theme park, but there are moments that did intrigue me. Going back to the is it scary bit, if I'm being direct, no, it's not scary. I was very much boldly running up and down the halls in the various areas of the theme park whenever possible. That and the aesthetic of the game, which I'll talk about in a moment, is very cozy. I saw someone, maybe a comment or something somewhere, referred to this game as cozy horror, and honestly, I fully agree with that. In a good way, of course, because that's a really hard thing to pull off, to be simultaneously cozy, but also be a little unsettling. As for difficulty, the game is also pretty easy, generally speaking. On normal mode, you get a lot of ammunition to use, and you get it often, and there are different weapons at your disposal as well, but some of those you have to go out of your way to find. The game also has an abundance of ways to help you. There are a lot of hints and a lot of notes all over the place to kind of help you put the pieces together if you didn't do it yourself already. In fact, there are so many of these hints and things to help you out as you go that I would go so far as to say I would recommend this game to anybody who has never played a survival horror game before. An old school-ish styled survival horror game at least. It helps you out a lot with a lot of the hints in the environments that you find, but a lot of those hints, at least the more direct ones, are either later in the game to help you with a different part of the game, or they are well hidden and you kind of have to be observant to really see them in the areas you can find them in. I.e., hey, I see a piece of paper behind the door, but I can't rotate it from my angle. But what if I leaves room, goes around the map, comes back around the other side, the gate's locked, but where is the lever? Oh, it's over there. I'm going to shoot the lever. Ah, the gate opened. Now I can see that hint on the wall. That kind of thing. On another note, I didn't play this game with keyboard and mouse, but if you use a directional pad on a controller, you get tank controls, and if you use the analog stick, you get full 360 movement like you would expect normally. Also, rotating the camera with the right analog stick, the camera isn't fixed. So you can just rotate it around, and I actually very much recommend that you do that every time you enter a room, because some items are just on the ground, hidden in various nooks and crannies. If you can get a better angle, then you'll see, hey, that's my chewing gum. That's hubba bubba bubble bubble hubba bubble hubba bubble. I'm trying to say hubba bubble bubble hubba bubble bubble. Hubba bubba bubble gum. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not taking it out of the script. Anyway, the way you can move in this game with both the directional pad for tank controls and the analog stick for like full movement kind of reminds me of how Tormented Souls kind of handled how their controls worked on a gamepad and keyboard and mouse, except I think that game had keyboard and mouse be the tank controls and the controller was 360 movement. I don't remember. As for combat, it's pretty straightforward. You hold down the aim button, you can't move anymore, and you have to fire. So you get you can get like a laser sight at some point in the game, and you could just aim like that, fire, and if you have to stop and run, you have to stop aiming, then run. then you have to aim again, stop moving, you get it at this point. No running and gunning for you in this game. I will also say that this game has style in spades and some great puzzle design. As you can see from the footage, the game emulates a lot of that old PS1 survival horror charm, kind of like Alyssa did, except this time it also has the CRT filter on top of it too. Crow Country also reminded me of Illbleed a number of times as I played, despite only ever really seeing Illbleed in retrospectives and never actually playing it. That said, while Crow Country definitely has some pretty funny jokes, they do not go as far as Illbleed. In fact, I don't think anything really goes as far as Illbleed. As for the puzzles, I know I said the game is pretty easy, but that doesn't mean it's not creative. It is actually very creative. Without spoiling too much, there's one puzzle that involves playing different arcade machines in this one section of the theme park to get a solution to one other machine in that room. And the way that those games, those little mini games are presented in the game on those machines is really cool. Jumping real quick to enemies and how you're exploring in this and the other, just exploration in general, that stuff tends to vary between enemies and traps. You don't have to kill every enemy, though I'd recommend it for areas you'll be running through a lot. Kind of, standard survival horror stuff. But the more you progress in the game, the more traps and the more enemies you'll encounter. Sometimes you'll clear an area, think it's fine, progress the game, and now there's a different trap in that spot, different trap in that spot, and like I said, get into the habit of rotating the camera around because some of those things are hiding, those little sneaky fuckers. I may not have been scared, but that doesn't mean that the game didn't force me to be cautious and take one step at a time. And I'd say overall, that's the gist of Crow Country. It's a chill, at times comedic, survival horror game that isn't very difficult, but has a lot of creativity injected into it. So yeah, I'm going to give this game a go for it, and I'm looking forward to whatever SFB Games does next. Crow Country is $20 and is on PS5 and Xbox Series S/X, as well as PC, and according to what Google's telling me, it's also on PS4, so, check it out where you can check it out. I should also mention that the game is also not very long, but I think it's pretty standard length for an indie survival horror game, or even a survival horror game in general. They tend to be pretty short, at least of the ones that I've played, at about maybe 6 to 9 hours. In my case, I finished it around 6 hours, but it might take you longer, might take you less. I didn't look for all the secrets, because there are secrets in this game, so it could take you more time if you're looking for everything. But with all that said, that's it for this review, so I hope you've enjoyed your stay. I'm TUSDarryl, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later.